The laptop hit the swimming pool with a huge splash. Water flew into the air, and suddenly the whole party became quiet. Everyone turned to look. My niece Chloe stood at the edge of the pool. She was wearing a beautiful designer dress that sparkled under the colorful party lights. A small smile sat on her face. It was the same smile her mother, my sister Victoria, often had when she thought she was better than everyone else. Chloe crossed her arms. "Sorry, Uncle Jackson," she said. But she did not sound sorry at all. Then she looked into the water and laughed. "I wanted a MacBook Pro, not this gaming laptop." I stared at the pool. The laptop slowly sank deeper into the water. It was not a cheap gift. I had spent $5,000 on that laptop. For weeks, I had carefully chosen every part. Chloe loved streaming games online, and I wanted to give her something special for her 16th birthday. Now it was sitting at the bot Richard of the pool. Around us were 50 teenagers and many parents. Some covered their mouths to hide their laughter. Others did not even try. Victoria stood nearby holding a glass of champagne. She rolled her eyes. "Chloe, be nice," she said casually. Then she looked at me. "Your uncle tries his best with what he has." I almost laughed. What does he has? That was funny coming from Victoria. For 7 years, almost everything she had came from me. The mansion, the luxury cars, the vacations, the shopping trips, the expensive schools. I paid for all of it. "It's fine," I said quietly. I watched the last bubbles rise from the water. "It's only money, right?" "Exactly," Chloe said happily. She smiled and turned back to her friends. "Mom will buy me the right one, Richardoro." Then she laughed. "Just put it on Uncle Jackson's account." Victoria nodded, as if that was completely normal. She did not even look at me. Instead, she continued talking to another parent about a future ski trip to Aspen. I already knew who would end up paying for that trip. Me. I stood there feeling invisible. Nobody thanked me for paying for the party. Nobody thanked me for the gift. Nobody cared. The birthday party had cost almost $50,000. There were fancy lights everywhere. A famous DJ played loud music. The food came from expensive restaurants. Beautiful decorations covered every corner. Victoria had even forced me to pay for renovations to the pool house because she said it would make the party look better. Suddenly my phone buzzed. A message appeared from my bank. I opened it. Unusual activity detected. Then I saw a new charge. $12,000 at an Apple store. I shook my head. The laptop had barely reached the bot Richard of the pool, and they had already bought Chloe another computer. I walked over to the bar. The bartender knew me. Without asking, he handed me my favorite drink. "Quite a party," he said. I looked at Chloe and her friends taking selfies near a giant chocolate fountain. "Quite a waste," I answered. Then I pulled out my phone. As I looked through my banking app, 7 years of memories came rushing back. Every house payment, every school bill, every shopping spree, every vacation, every luxury car, every expensive dinner. Everything had been connected to my money. But there was one thing they did not know. I had another phone. Inside that phone was something very important. Proof. Proof that Victoria had been stealing money. She worked at an investment company. For years, she secretly moved money that belonged to clients into hidden accounts. The amount was huge. More than $2 million. She believed nobody would ever discover it. She was wrong. "Uncle Jackson." Chloe's voice interrupted my thoughts. I looked up. "We ran out of ice," she said. "The expensive ice from that special store." I stared at her. She was only 16, but she already acted just like her mother. She expected everyone to serve her. She expected everyone to pay for her. She expected everyone to do what she wanted. "I'll take care of it," I said calmly. Then I finished my drink. A few minutes later I walked to my car. The music from the party sounded quieter from there. I sat behind the steering wheel and took a deep breath. Then I made a phone call. Not to an ice company. I called someone who had been waiting months for my decision. A man answered. "Daniel speaking." "This is Jackson Morton," I said. "I'm ready." The man was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. "Are you sure?" I looked through my windshield. Chloe and her friends were still laughing by the pool. They were making videos of the laptop underwater. "My niece just threw my birthday gift into the pool," I said. "I've never been more sure." "We'll need every document," Daniel said. I nodded. "You already have them." "What do you mean?" "I emailed everything 5 minutes ago. Every bank statement. Every transfer. Every account. Every fake document. Every piece of evidence. 7 years of proof." The investigator became quiet. Finally he spoke. "This will destroy your sister and her family." "I know," I answered. The call ended. I sat there in silence. The loud music from the party shook the night air. Soon everything would change. Then I made another call. This time it was to my bank. "This is Jackson Morton. Yes, I'd like to freeze every connected account." The woman on the phone sounded surprised. "All of them, sir?" "Every single one." Within minutes it was done. I looked back at the mansion. Bright lights reflected across the water. At the bot Richard of that pool sat my ruined laptop. But before the night ended, it would become one of the smallest problems in that house. The first sign appeared about 20 minutes later. A loud voice shouted across the backyard. Declined. I looked over. Victoria stood beside a payment machine. She was trying to pay the catering staff. Try again, she said angrily. The worker tried again. The machine beeped. Declined. Victoria frowned. At the same time Chloe came running over. Mom, my food delivery app isn't working. Another guest checked his phone. My card isn't working either. Slowly the confusion began. One account after another stopped working. Phones buzzed with warning messages. Credit cards were rejected. Payments failed. Victoria hurried across the patio toward me. Her face was pale. Jackson, she said. There is something wrong with the accounts. I looked at her calmly. Is there? Fix it. Her voice sounded more like an order than a request. I smiled slightly. Like you fixed those client accounts? The color disappeared from her face. What are you talking about? $2 million, Victoria. She grabbed my arm. Lower your voice. No. I showed her my phone. An email confirmation was displayed on the screen. The investigators have everything. Her eyes widened. Every transfer. She swallowed hard. Every hidden account. She looked terrified. Every lie. You did this, she whispered. Yes. For a moment she simply stared at me. Then she looked toward the pool. My daughter's birthday party? I followed her gaze. My laptop is at the bot Richard of your pool. The party continued around us. Most guests still had no idea what was happening. Music played. Teenagers laughed. People danced. But the mood was beginning to change. Soon Victoria's husband Richard walked over. He looked nervous. The cards aren't working, he said. None of them. Victoria forced a smile. It's fine. Then she pointed at me. Jackson will fix it. I stood up. No. Richard looked confused. What do you mean? I looked directly at him. The investigators begin Richardoro morning. Richard's face turned white. What investigators? Victoria quickly interrupted. He's lying. But her voice shook. I laughed. Several nearby guests turned around. Lying? I asked. Like when you stole money from innocent clients? Victoria looked furious. Stop talking. Or like when you used me for years while making fun of me behind my back. Just then Chloe appeared. She was holding her phone. Mom, what's happening? Victoria tried to smile. Nothing, sweetie. But even Chloe could see the fear on her face. I looked at my niece. Something is happening. Before anyone could say another word, 2 security guards approached. Victoria had hired them for the party. Excuse me, ma'am, one guard said politely. Our payment was declined. Victoria looked shocked. What? The payment didn't go through. This is ridiculous, she shouted. We have money. I shook my head. I had money. The word hung in the air. Had. Not have. Had. Slowly people began whispering. Guests checked their phones. Parents exchanged worried looks. Some recognized the name of Victoria's investment company. Others started asking questions. The party was falling apart. People began leaving. The music still played, but nobody cared anymore. The laughter disappeared. The smiles vanished. Victoria stared at me with tears forming in her eyes. You are destroying everything. I looked around at the mansion, the decorations, the expensive lights, and the crowd that was quickly disappearing. Then I looked back at her. No, Victoria. I spoke quietly. You destroyed it yourself. I pointed toward the house. You built all of this with lies. Then I pointed toward the guests. You fooled everyone. Finally I pointed at myself. And you thought I would keep paying forever. Victoria said nothing. For the first time in years she had no answer. I turned away and started walking toward my car. Behind me the party continued to collapse. The truth was finally coming out. And for the first time in 7 years I felt free. Because I was not destroying their world. I was simply turning on the light, so everyone could see it clearly. Chloe stood beside the swimming pool and looked around. Just a little while ago, her sweet 16th birthday party had been full of music, laughter, and people. Now everything was changing. Guests were leaving quickly. Some whispered to each other as they walked away. Others avoided looking at Chloe at all. Mom, why is everyone leaving? Chloe asked. But Victoria did not answer. She rushed into the house with a worried look on her face. She grabbed her phone and started making calls. She looked scared for the first time in years. Richard hurried after her. His face was pale. He looked like someone who had just received terrible news. Soon, Chloe was left alone with me. She looked confused. She looked scared. Most of all, she looked lost. What's happening? She asked quietly. I looked at her carefully. For years, Chloe had been spoiled. She had always gotten what she wanted. Expensive clothes, fancy vacations, new phones, and huge birthday parties were normal parts of her life. But she was still only 16 years old. Maybe she could still learn. Maybe she could still change. I pointed toward the pool. Do you remember that laptop? I asked. Chloe looked down. The one you threw into the water because you said it wasn't good enough? Her cheeks turned red. Yes, she whispered. I nodded. That laptop mattered to someone. Chloe looked at the water. Your mother has been doing the same thing to people for years, I continued. She treated their savings, dreams, and futures like they didn't matter. Chloe frowned. I don't understand. People trusted your mother with their money. They worked hard for it. Some saved for many years. Some were saving for retirement. Some wanted to help their children go to college. Your mother took advantage of that trust. Chloe stared at me. But we're rich, she said. I shook my head. No, Chloe. She looked confused. I had money, I said. Your mother had lies. Those are two very different things. At that moment, my phone buzzed. A message appeared on the screen. Everything was ready. The investigators would begin their operation at sunrise. I put my phone away. The party was over. Not just the birthday party. Their whole world was about to change. I turned and started walking away. Wait, Chloe called. I stopped. Where are you going? I'm going home. Then I looked back at her. And Chloe? Yes. The laptop you threw into the pool was worth more than this house will be worth, Richardoro. Chloe's eyes grew wide. She didn't know what to say. I left her standing there beside the pool. Around her were decorations, balloons, empty chairs, and the remains of a party that nobody would remember fondly. Inside the mansion, I could hear Victoria yelling. Call the lawyers. Call somebody. Fix this. But some problems cannot be fixed, especially when they are caused by years of lies. The next morning, I sat in my home office with a cup of coffee. The television was on. Every news channel was talking about the same story. Helicopters flew over the mansion. Federal agents arrived in several vehicles. Reporters gathered outside. The story was spreading everywhere. My phone would not stop ringing. Call after call appeared on the screen. Victoria called. Richard called. Lawyers called. Friends called. Even Chloe called. By lunchtime, I had more than 100 missed calls. I listened to only one voicemail. It was from Victoria. Her voice was angry. You ruined us, Jackson, she shouted. You ruined your own family. I hope you're happy. I deleted the message before it ended. A little while later, my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. Chloe stood outside. She was still wearing her birthday dress. Her makeup had run down her face from crying. She looked exhausted. For a moment, I thought about not opening the door. But she was still a child, so I let her in. The second she entered, she sat on my couch and burst into tears. They took Mom, she cried. I stayed quiet. They put handcuffs on her. More tears rolled down her cheeks. They took Dad too. I nodded slowly. Actions have consequences. Chloe looked at me. Her eyes were full of fear. But where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do now? The confident girl from the birthday party was gone. Now she looked like a frightened teenager whose whole life had been turned upside down. Your grandparents in Ohio will take care of you, I said. I already spoke to them. Chloe looked shocked. Ohio? I nodded. But my friends are here. She paused. My school is here. My life is here. I looked at her kindly. That life is gone now. Then I added, just like the laptop you threw away. Chloe lowered her head. After a few moments, she spoke. I'm sorry. I waited. I'm sorry about the laptop. For the first time, she sounded sincere. I nodded. Then I said something important. You acted the way your mother taught you to act. Chloe looked up. But you don't have to stay that way. She listened carefully. You are 16 years old. You can still decide what kind of person you want to become. Just then, her phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. And again. Messages were arriving every few seconds. The news had spread across social media. People were talking about her family everywhere. Friends who once loved attending her parties were suddenly pretending they barely knew her. Some unfollowed her online. Others posted messages about the scandal. Chloe watched her perfect world disappear in real time. After several minutes, she asked a question. Why did Mom do it? Her voice was barely above a whisper. We already had everything. I shook my head. No, Chloe. She looked confused. You had other people's everything. I took out some papers. I explained them in simple words. I showed her how investors trusted Victoria. I showed her how money was moved from account to account. I showed her how Victoria used my name to make everything look honest. Slowly, Chloe began understanding. She looked sick. All our vacations? Yes. The cars? Yes. The clothes? Yes. The house? Yes. Her voice shook. It was all paid for with stolen money? I nodded. Most of it. Chloe sat quietly. For a long time, she didn't speak. Finally, she asked, will they go to jail? Yes. She swallowed hard. Then she asked, what happens to me? I reached into a folder and handed her a plane ticket. She looked at it. It was for a flight to Ohio. You get something your parents don't have. What? A second chance. She stared at the ticket. Don't waste it, I said. The next day, Chloe left for Ohio. After she was gone, my house felt very quiet. I walked through the room slowly. For 7 years, I had carried the burden of Victoria's lies. Now that burden was gone. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Then my phone rang. It was the investigator. Victoria says you were involved. I smiled. She can say whatever she wants. I had years of records proving the truth. Every document. Every email. Every message. The evidence showed exactly what had happened. By evening, the story was everywhere. Victoria and Richard were in custody. Their bank accounts were frozen. Their expensive possessions were taken away. Their mansion was seized. The life they built on lies was falling apart. Many former friends appeared on television. Some claimed they had always suspected something was wrong. I found that funny. Those same people had attended every party and accepted every invitation. Now they acted surprised. A few days later, I received one final text from Victoria. It said, "I hope you're satisfied. You've destroyed your family." I thought for a moment before replying. Then I typed, "No, Victoria. I simply stopped letting family destroy me." 3 months passed. Life became quieter. One afternoon, I received a letter from Ohio. The handwriting on the envelope belonged to Chloe. I opened it and began reading. She wrote that she was doing well. Her new school was different, but she was making friends. She had started a part-time job. For the first time in her life, she was earning her own money. She wrote about helping her grandparents around the house. She wrote about studying harder than before. Then I reached the final paragraph. It made me smile. I found a laptop like the one I threw into the pool. I've been saving money for months. This time I understand what it is worth. This time I will take care of it. I folded the letter carefully. I was proud of her. But I didn't write back. Some lessons are stronger when people discover them themselves. Over time, Victoria and Richard accepted plea deals. Their mansion was sold. Their luxury items were sold too. The money was used to help repay the people they had hurt. My name was cleared completely. Everyone knew I had told the truth. In the end, I realized something important. The only thing I truly lost was the heavy burden of carrying someone else's lies. Sometimes I still think about that laptop sinking into the pool. At the time, it looked like a small moment. But it changed everything. It opened my eyes. It helped me see the truth that I had ignored for too long. Sometimes the most expensive thing in the world is not a house, a car, or a computer. Sometimes it is a lie. A lie can cost friendships. A lie can cost trust. A lie can cost an entire future. But the truth can set you free. And in the end, that is exactly what happened to me. I lost nothing that truly mattered. Instead, I gained something priceless. My freedom. And unlike a laptop thrown into a pool, freedom is something no one can take away.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं। ये जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं। तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है। दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर बढ़ता है। अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं। ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं। तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है। दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है। मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं। तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते हैं। कहाँ जाऊं कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू मेरी रूह का मका तू। लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था। वफा की इस कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था। सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा, मगर खामोश बस रह गया दर्द का असर, दर्द का असर।